On today's retro spot, we'll be having a look at Visionaries, Knights of the Magical Light, Spectral Knights, Arzon. Arzon was my favorite of the Spectral Knights. He was a good combination of he was courageous and he would go out and he would fight the Darkling Lords, whereas Leoric was more passive and the leader and everything else and wanted to do the right thing. Arzon was the one that kind of took risks and everything else. So I thought that was kind of cool. Arzon shares very similar armor to Leoric, even though they were different personalities. If I see if I can find Leoric here, I grab Leoric, you'll notice he's right there. You'll notice it is very similar between the two, other than the fact that Arzon has a purple and blue, whereas Leoric's got more like the grayish blue. Arzon comes with a helmet, also very similar to Leoric, except he doesn't have the W and everything else, but very similar. His totem, which unfortunately is considerably worn on mine, is that of an eagle. I think Arzon probably used him and Witherquick probably used their totems the most, I would say. Now, unfortunately, him turning into a totem, he was fairly small, so he got captured a couple of times, turning into an eagle and trying to escape. But a good figure. I really like it. A lot of detail was put into it. A lot of detail gets put into a lot of the Visionary toys. I also want to point out too that the Visionary toys, even though they had the exact same joints and everything else as a G.I. Joe, were considerably taller. A G.I. Joe would go to about shoulder here, I would say. So Visionaries were a little bit taller, even though they had all the same articulation and the notorious rubber band waist. There's Arzon for you. We'll just put this guy back here. Arzon I unfortunately don't have the weapon for, but I still have his power staff. Nice detail in the power staff. Very similar again to Leoric, and I'll pull Leoric's staff out here. They've got the same points at the top here, although Arzon's is a little more jagged. One other similarity that they do share as well is the fact that Leoric's staff could summon wisdom, wisdom, and Arzon's could summon knowledge. Now, where these differed was that Leoric's was absolutely useless, and Arzon's was actually helpful. If you can see it there, the staff on Arzon I have is actually pretty clear, so you can make it out really well. So you see the unicorn there, and then if you flip it, there's his summon of wisdom, which if you saw him in the cartoon, was a guy almost looked like a genie. He was like a puff of smoke from the waist down, and then above he was a torso. And the guy had this giant brain on the top of his head. And when he summoned him, and his summon was a whim, a thought, and more sought, awake my mind, thy will be wrought. And then of course this guy would come out. Unlike Leoric's, which was just spouted riddles, Arzon's summon actually would tell them things. So Arzon would actually say, tell me about this, and knowledge would basically give him everything he needs to know about that character, or about that, where they were, or something like that. So very useful totem, a very useful staff. If we look at his file card here, which I still have, it's got a picture of Arzon on the side here with a mean tan going on there. His description says, Arzon, a daring young knight whose soaring ideals and heroism help carry on the struggle against the Darkling Lords. His mystical personality, represented by the eagle, Arzon's bold defense against the Darkling Lords is highly effective. And his magical totem. Arzon summons his magical totem of knowledge to devise brilliant tactical battle plans to repel the enemy's sorcery. And then we get a better close-up look at the summon here. And then, of course, his summon chant below there. A whim of thought and more sought wake my mind that will be wrought. Wasn't a big fan. Wasn't a big fan of the summon. I think my favorites are still Witherquick and Sindar, but I like that they rhymed. I thought that was really neat. And they certainly didn't play down to the fact that these were kids watching, which I always have to give credit for the 80s cartoons. I mean, nowadays, if you watch some of the crap that's on TV for a cartoon for kids, a lot of it's just really toned down toilet humor, which is funny to some extent, but at least the cartoons themselves in the 80s were geared towards kids eventually being adults. I mean, you know, they weren't... It was smart dialogue. It wasn't silly stuff or anything like that. But I'm getting off topic here. Needless to say, there is a retro spot on Visionaries Knights of the Magical Light, Spectral Knights, Arzon. And with that, I'll see you guys next time.